welcome to At the Disney Movies with the Hearts.
I'm Kelly.
I'm David.
And this week we go to Fat Camp.
Yeah, we've got Heavyweights from 1995.
Everybody wants to be closer to free.
Is definitely from 1995.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to say that's not a bad thing.
No, I had a... So wait, first of all, you weren't sure if you'd seen this.
No, I definitely have not
You've
seen
not
this.
seen
I
it.
did not know it even existed.
Okay, so I was really surprised because this movie seems like it's right up your alley.
Oh, it totally is.
Like-
I don't know how this passed me by. This is a Judd Apatow, Ben Stiller movie right after one of my favorite shows ever, The Ben Stiller Show, aired. I don't know how I missed this.
Well, and it's about, like, fat kids, so...
Well, right, which is up my alley-ish, but I don't really identify with these fat kids because I was athletic and I would have been the bully of that camp.
Well, that... You wouldn't have been very welcome there, though.
I would not.
But yeah, and, like, the director of this movie, he is also an actor?
Is he?
Yeah, because he's listed as, like, characters in all these different Adam Sandler movies.
Oh, he's that guy. Okay, because he's Adam Sandler's friend. Like, the cameraman in this is Adam Sandler's other friend. Like, the two dudes from Grandma's. Or from Grandma's Boy. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're in every single Adam Sandler movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those two guys are...
So he directed
prominent.
this. And that's like, he's only directed like this, and he directed like an Adam Sandler comedy special, and that's about it. Everything else he's acted in.
That makes sense. I have a feeling that most of this was Judd Apatow's work.
Yeah, probably.
This movie, I'll just say it right at the beginning, is a super watered down Disney-fied Judd Apatow movie, and it's great.
Well, it's really interesting because it's so 90s in a way that, like, they don't make movies anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, it has very strong vibes of, like, I don't know if you ever watched, like, The Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Or The Big Green, or Little Rascals.
Plenty of these kids were in The Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, and, like, also, it felt very, like, Hook vibes, kind of.
A little,
like,
yeah.
There's a couple other ones I wrote down. But yeah, it was like Three Ninjas, Little Rascals, Big Green. Those were like the main things. I was like, oh, that they don't make those kind of kids movies anymore.
Well, because kids now are awful. They ruin kids now. There's no togetherness. There's no parent. Like, if your parent's your buddy, how are you gonna have a kids movie?
I mean, that's true because that's actually a very good point. Because all these movies, it starts out like, oh, my parents are ridiculous. I hate my parents, and like that's just.
And if your mom and dad are your best friends, there's really nowhere to go with a movie. I mean...
Yeah.
It's kind of tough.
And then, all the kids, like, aren't really famous people. They're all kind of no-name...
You know...
Except for Keenan.
Well, yeah, Keenan is... And he is incredible in this. Every scene he's in, he totally steals. You can tell he's a great actor already in this.
Correct, sir.
Yeah.
The other fat kid, that Josh kid...
Yeah.
He was in the Mighty Ducks pretty prominently, too. He's really good. I wonder whatever happened to him.
I don't know.
Just kind of... He's skinny now, I see, but... he seemed like he was really good then. So
many fat kids.
Yeah.
And I was a fat kid, so I feel like I can say that.
I really feel like I could have been in this movie.
Yeah.
I would have been perfect for it.
And we'll get to it, but I was really disappointed when they had the girls' camp. I was hoping it was going to be like a fat girls' camp.
Okay, so that's one of my main points is I would have loved to see the heavyweight girls' camp. That would have made this movie perfect.
Yeah.
Literally perfect. If they got hooked up with the heavyweight girls' camp, that would have been awesome.
Yeah. And then they had a bunch of random cameos by pretty well-known actors as some of the adults. Like,
Jeffrey Tambor is his dad.
Yeah, and like, Tim Blake Nelson is like the guy who's giving them the video at the beginning. You don't know who that is? He was in Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
Okay. Yeah. I recognize him, but I couldn't really place him.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of a lot of things.
Well, and Ben Stiller. I mean, Ben Stiller is amazing.
And he's like super jacked in this movie, which I know is the point,
no,
but like
he's super jacked all the time.
But see, when I think about Ben Stiller, I don't think about him as like a jacked guy. I think about him as kind of like a small guy.
He is a small guy, but he's a small jacked guy. In any movie that he gets a chance to show off how jacked he is, he takes full advantage, and this movie is no exception.
But he's like extra jacked in this movie.
Well, he was really young. I mean,
even his hair is jacked.
Yeah, well, he loves doing that in movies too, but
yeah.
Like, really, this is the same character he played, like, in Dodgeball.
Yeah, that's true, it is. And I think that's probably when they made Dodgeball, that's probably what they were going for. They're like, can you just recreate your character from Heavyweights?
Ben Stiller has, like, 10 characters that he plays, and this is one of them, and one of his best ones, in my personal opinion.
Attention campers, lunch has been canceled today due to lack of hustle. Deal with it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
His evil character is always amazing.
Yeah. It's pretty good. So, let me read the synopsis here.
Go for it.
Plump kids are lured into joining a posh fat camp with the promise of quick weight loss and good times, only to find that the facility is a woodland hellhole run by a psycho ex-fitness instructor.
That's misleading.
Kind of, because, like...
At the beginning, it is so amazing. Like, that Pat guy is just, like, incredible. Like, it's like, quote-unquote fat camp, where clearly nobody loses the weight because the kids keep coming back, and the counselor is still fat.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, you'd never seen this movie.
No.
At all.
No.
I've definitely seen it. It's just been a really long time, and I didn't really remember anything about it, except for Ben Stiller's character. That's like the only thing I remembered, and that's why I was so surprised you hadn't seen it, because you love the Ben Stiller show, and I was like really surprised. So I knew that you were.
Yeah,
I
love the Ben Stiller show. I love Judd Apatow. I just didn't know this even existed. Like, I don't know how this got by me. I really don't.
I don't know. So, did you have any initial overall thoughts, I guess, other than that?
It's a great Fat Kids movie. This movie is awesome.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It's pretty average for me, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It had some weird things in it that I didn't quite... just some weird things that I could have been better in the story.
Oh, okay. Don't get me wrong. Lots of things that could have been better. I blame Disney for why this movie's not literally perfect.
Yeah, there were just a few things that could have been better. So the movie starts, and it's like school's out, all the kids are freaking out, which, I don't know about you, when I was in school, nobody ever did that.
Like, trashed the entire school?
Yeah, like, nobody does that, and they show it all the time in movies.
They do show it all the time, and it would be awesome. And I mean, I kind of relate, like... but not to the level of, like, just straight litter that they do in these movies.
Yeah, no, it would not be a thing.
No.
So, yeah, school's out, and they're trying... and, like, that never happened.
No.
Ever. I mean, I went to private school, so maybe that's different. But.
No, it's not different. It's really the only difference with public school, I think, is that the teachers are very nervous the older the kids are on the last day of school, because there's really nothing they can do, and...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Some of us are just straight up psychos, and that's not fun for them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, private school kids are psychos too. They're just psychos with rich parents.
Yeah. But
which can be even worse.
I think it's a different kind of vibe, you know.
Oh, for sure, it's definitely different. But our main character, I guess, Jerry. I mean, sort of the main character. Yes.
There is no real
Not
main
really.
character.
The main character is like
the kids.
All the kids.
Or just the camp in general. Mm-hmm. Because to me, the Josh kid is almost more a main character than Jerry, but Jerry just kind of ends up being the focal. And they're playing this song at the beginning of this movie that's been in like a couple of other movies, and it was the Party of Five soundtrack song. Yeah. Like that.
It's like closer to something, right?
Closer to Free. Yeah. And it really kind of was like, what?
Well, it's very 90s, right?
It is. Yeah. But it was a weird song to open this with. Kind of took me out of it.
Yeah, because your face when you were reading the credits and it was like Ben Stiller as Tony Perkins, you were like, you were so shocked.
And the Judd Apatow part, I was like, what?
Yeah. You were like legit shocked. So that was kind of fun because I already knew that. So that was kind of fun for me to watch.
Yeah, I had no idea. I'm just like, okay.
I'm reading my notes and I completely forgot about this. And this might be one of my favorite parts is when he's walking home and the ball goes over the fence and he can't throw the ball back over the fence.
It's so over the top.
But it's so funny.
And I know that there were kids like that. Like, I was friends with this kid. He wasn't even fat.
Yeah.
I mean, he is now, I think. But, I mean, he couldn't throw a ball like that. He was the same thing. And I was just always like, how is this possible?
Like, he had to throw like 5 times, and then he like dropped it over the fence, and
ish.
Yeah, and like, and then like, there's a dog. A girl's walking a dog, and the dog is trying to chase him.
See, that rang true to me for the '90s. The loose dog thing, like, except for that lady had a leash. Like, I just remember dodging so many loose, mean dogs and like kicking mean dogs. Like, it's just such a weird thing to think about now.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't happen.
And the weird thing, actually, is when he walks up to the lemonade stand, like, nobody does that anymore.
I feel like I've seen that, but I think it's only girls that do it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But he, like, drinks their entire, like, gallon of lemonade. And that just, I don't know, that was really funny to me. But
yeah,
he kind of jumps in really quick because he goes home and he's like, why is everybody home? Did someone die?
Yeah.
And they're like, this guy is going to show us this video, and it's like a promotional video for the camp.
Yeah, and it's obviously a fat camp. And Jerry's just like, no, I'm not going to a fat camp. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
And, it's just kind of that. And it cuts to a plane taking off. Immediately on the plane, he gets pinned with, like, the captain's airline badge from the stewardess. Because
the flight attendant
thought he was cute.
The stewardess, flight attendant, I don't know what the correct word is nowadays, but she was, like, the most 90s looking lady.
Oh, totally.
Like,
well, second most 90s looking lady.
Well,
in this movie.
okay,
We'll get to that.
Yeah, that's true. But I was like, she's like, I've seen her in every movie somewhere. Like, she's one of those probably, like, female character, like, you've seen her in other stuff, like,
totally.
100%.
Totally.
I forgot to look up who she was, but, like, she was so 90s.
Absolutely.
But then...
And then Keenan comes up to him and is like, hey, are you going to fat camp?
Yeah, this part was really funny, too.
Yeah,
he's like, no, I'm not, what? And he's, like, trying to play it cool. He's like, oh, yeah, why would you say that? He's like, oh, 'cause you're fat. And he's like, oh, is that your dad? He's fat, too. And like, there's, like, some random guy next to him.
Yeah, but why? Well, why would that be bad? Well, because he's fat. Like, Keenan is a killer already at this. This is like pre all that Keenan. Mm-hmm. I don't even know how Disney let Keenan make it over to Nickelodeon, but Keenan was good when he was a little kid. Like he's amazing.
He's like what, 10, 11 in this probably?
Maybe 13 or 14, but
I think he's no older than 13. That's like.
But he kills that scene. That scene is super memorable because Keenan just drives through it. Like.
Yeah,
he is great.
And he's like, I'm going to fat camp too. Like, my name's Roy, and I'm like the king of this place or whatever. And so he's like, okay. And so then I think it makes him feel a little better. But then they go and they're waiting at the airport, and there's just a bunch of fat kids everywhere. Which, can you imagine? I would have loved to see the casting call for this movie.
Me too, because I would have liked to have been in it.
Well, he'd be a little old, I think, at this point.
I think that I am exactly the same age or a little younger than all the kids in this movie.
You think so?
Yeah, I was looking. They're all like 78, 79, 80. Like, I'm right in there.
All right. Well, fair enough.
I would have had to shave just like my homeboy.
But... And then the guy comes to pick them up on the bus, and it's Pat, and he's the guy from the video. And he's just like a fat guy.
And I swear I've seen that guy in other stuff, too.
He's been in a bunch of 90s stuff.
But he's just kind of like a guy, like, he's not like...
Yeah, he looks like somebody's dad. Like...
Yeah. An unfortunate somebody's dad, yeah.
Yeah, he's got, like, one of those faces that, like, he used to be thin, but it just kind of, like where his neck comes up over his chin, kind of, and, like, he doesn't really have a chin.
Yeah.
But he's not super fat, like...
No,
it's
but
just
if
weird.
He's 10 pounds overweight, he looks fat.
There you go, exactly.
It's an unfair kind of look.
Yeah. But he picks up all the kids, and they're driving, and he's messing with them on the bus.
Great fast food joke with him swerving over to get fast food and being like, yeah, just kidding, that was pretty good.
Yeah, because there's like a whole line of like Taco Bell, Burger King.
Yeah,
like,
it looked super 90s. Like, that's how
Yeah.
it used to be. The strip of a whole bunch of fast food restaurants all in a row.
Yeah, for sure. And so they get to Camp Hope, and then they're like unpacking the bus, and then the new nurse comes, and her name is Julie, and she is the most 90s looking chick
I've ever seen in my life.
She has no eyelashes.
Or eyebrows. Like, she has that plucked thin line, and it's
Yeah.
like, what's going on here? But she is, like, so prototypical 90s, it's not funny. Like,
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out who she was. I looked up who she was. Obviously, she's nobody. But I've seen her in probably 5 million things.
Yeah, she's like the same type of thing, like that, just very generic.
Hot-ish chick.
She's got a weird looking face. You know
yeah,
what
yeah,
she
yeah.
looks like? She looks like so the chick who plays Arya in Game of Thrones, it's like her in 15 years.
No, that girl
They have the same face.
No. This lady's face is way bigger, and she has a huge jaw. It's
I
not
think
the same.
I think they have the same face,
I
but
don't think so.
that's what I was
That's
thinking.
fair. I mean, that's fine. That's fair.
And she's like talking to Pat, and she's like, "Oh, can you tell me where the infirmary is?" And like he's
And he
like,
can't even talk to chicks. It's pathetic.
And she's like, okay, bye. I'll find it on my own. So they go into the cabin, and he's in charge. It's what's the name of it? Chipmunk, is that right? The cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he meets the other people, and of course they have the like main head fat kid is like looks like he's like in the mafia or something, or like the Persian mafia because he's wearing.
He looks like Joey Coco Diaz, if anybody knows
Yeah,
who that is.
I don't know who that
He's
is.
a comedian that is in like the Joe Rogan circle.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
He's like almost exactly like him.
But like they're making fun of him being almost like a mob boss type of thing because
And he's
he's wearing
good at it.
Yeah, he's wearing not a jumpsuit, but tracksuit. Thank you, and like a gold necklace, I think. And he's just like, oh, who's this? Oh, blah 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 blah.
See,
blah, blah, blah.
I think that kid stole the movie along with Keenan.
Yeah, no, he was
They were
really
both
good.
so good in this movie.
All the little kids were really good because they had.
Jerry was good. But he was like a total. I mean, he actually nailed. He must be from Long Island because he nailed that Long Island douchebag kid all the way through this movie. Like, nailed it. And I thought that was kind of funny because he was like a kind of a tough kid. Like, oh, we're gonna go this guy. Are you kidding me? You kid.
Yeah, no, there was some definitely questionable things in this movie that were really funny.
But see, I feel like there should have been. Or if this wasn't a Disney movie, if this was like, if Judd Apatow was who he is now, and could have made the movie he wanted, this movie would have been like super questionable. Like,
yeah,
this movie had the potential to be better than Superbad, and how crazy it should have been.
Because, like, here, there's, like, okay, so first they start calling him Captain because he has the wings, like, the lady pinned on him. And then he's like, oh, you're not going to call me that all summer. And they're like, aye, aye, Captain. Yeah. And even, like, Pat is joining in, the counselor, which
and that's the way it should be. That's the way dudes are supposed to be. We're supposed to bust each other's balls.
And, like... So he's like, oh, I snuck in some cookies, like
some
thinking
Oreos,
thinking he's all like hot, and then he's like, oh, really? And so they started doing this whole sequence, which I completely forgot about. Yeah, the old download, which I don't know exactly what that means.
That means download all the information, all your goods.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And so everyone's like stripping and pulling off all their stuff, and like they got like the one guy had like salamis taped on his back.
Yeah, that's my kid right there.
And like they're putting like candy in the bedposts, and like the one kid failed because it was all like melted. He's like, oh, it was hot. He's like, oh, it was a little hot on the bus.
And the one kid like licks it and says, "This is unsanitary." Licks it and then goes, "Oh, grab a taste of England, boys!" It's so funny.
And they all like jump on him and like, ugh, gross. So gross.
Oh, it's so awesome.
But like they're doing this whole thing that's supposed to be like it's like drug paraphernalia because the one kid
Basically,
has
yeah.
like a briefcase and he's like, oh, check this out. And it's like has all
Yeah.
these little zipped baggies of like Pez and like
jelly candies.
gumballs.
Yeah.
And, and so that whole sequence was kind of fun.
It was hilarious. It was great.
I enjoyed that quite a bit, but
And then we come into all the camp all together, and we meet Jerry Stiller and is it Mary O'Meara? Is that her name?
yeah, I think so. I don't remember
Yeah.
what I've seen her in. But was she the mom? No, I don't know what I've seen her in. I've seen her in something.
Yeah, I mean those are Ben Stiller's parents.
Oh, that's his real mom too.
That's his mom and dad. Yeah.
I always forget that guy is his dad.
Oh yeah.
And
No.
and
they're great. And they're like the best people on the planet. And they're funny in this
Yeah.
scene. But then they're like, oh, the camp is bankrupt. We had to sell
See,
it.
and this is what I didn't remember because so before I knew that like before I watched the movie, I remembered like it was like a bad camp and Ben Stiller's character. But then when they were going in and everything was fun and they're jumping off the thing into the water and all this stuff, I'm like, wait,
The Blob.
I'm like, where does this come in? Like I couldn't put that together, and then I was like, oh, they sold the camp. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they went into bankruptcy. Don't let anybody sign your checks.
She's like, stop.
Oh my god. They are amazing. Like, truly.
Yeah, no, they're really funny. Have they been married for a really long time?
I think, like, forever. I mean, they were a comedy act.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Forever.
that.
Like, yeah, they're like the original comedy duo husband and wife team that just kept going, and then they gave birth to a comedic genius. I mean,
Yeah. Which
it doesn't
actually
really look like either one of them, which is funny.
It's interesting because before you made me watch Ben Stiller's show, and like I had never really thought of Ben Stiller as like a great comedic actor.
Me neither. Well, no, I always have because I saw that when I was a kid. It was my favorite show.
But like that show's really funny, and like some of the other stuff he's done is funny too. Like it's just
But when you see like the start, when you see the Ben Stiller show, and then look at his career as like a shootout
Yeah.
from that, you're like, oh, this guy's a genius. He's great.
he comes in all smoke and mirrors, like the whole thing, and like I'm like, oh, so they're clearly basing his character off of Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah, because that's what they call him, Tony Perkis. Like it's
right, like it has to because he was a thing back then, right?
Oh, absolutely. This was the first iteration of Tony Robbins. Was
Okay.
right around this time.
Because he's out there and he's like got this ridiculous hair and he's like, yeah, like I'm here to inspire you. And like, at least for me, anytime someone tries to do that, with like different trainings I've gone to for work or different speakers and stuff, if they have that attitude of like, yeah, you gotta get inspired, I immediately shut off. I'm
I'm done.
I'm like, I don't need you to tell me to do this.
Yeah, no, that's not good for me.
But so he's taken over the camp, and so he's like, but really he's just trying to sell his infomercial or
His kids weight loss infomercial.
Yeah.
Which to me is funny. Like, this movie is super far ahead of its time for fat kids. Because, like, I was a fat kid when this movie came out. There were only a couple of us. Like, it wasn't common. Like, they really would have had to gather up a bunch of kids like this, like, from all over, and put us together to make an amalgamation of fat kids.
Yeah. And like, I don't even think that fat camps exist now. Like,
Which is sad. I would have killed to go to fat camp.
well,
when I was
and
a kid.
like, as we see later in the movie, like, it doesn't have to be a bad thing to like get all these kids together and like try to get them to get healthy and like active and.
Even though I was super active, that's a weird thing. I don't even understand.
Yeah. Me too. But basically, after he does his presentation, which is a whole like 5-minute sequence, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, it's Ben Stiller being his crazy manic
and it's
self.
so awkward.
Yeah.
Like,
Can you smell it? What? No. There's a life force in here tonight.
it's one of the most awkward things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's so uncomfortable.
But that's kind of his best notes. The best him is doing that. Being awkward, uncomfortable, and crazy.
And so then they kick, after his presentation, they all go back to the cabin or whatever, and they kick Pat is no longer allowed to be a counselor. They basically make him be a janitor.
Yeah, they kick him out of the chipmunk bunk, and we meet Lars,
Yeah, it's like,
the from somewhere in Europe douchebag guy.
It's funny because when I was reading that guy's IMDb, it's like he was actually in a part in Gossip Girl, which is a show I used to watch. He was like a butler, and he was a reoccurring character, and like his face looked familiar, so it was tripping me out the whole movie. And I was like, why does his face look familiar?
He looked familiar to me too, but I don't know.
He probably had a lot of 90s, early 2000s,
probably.
like generic European dude part. But,
Yeah,
which is
maybe.
Lars is like the most generic Eastern European name you can come up with. And he's like, I have a severely deviated septum. I'm like, oh, you've done a lot of cocaine. That's what you're dealing with. It's like,
Hey, that's not how all of us get deviated septum. Sometimes you just get hit in the nose a lot.
yeah, I mean, maybe, but I mean him, really.
Or you get it grinded across the mat. That's how mine happened.
But basically, they're taking over the camp essentially, and they start doing their like fitness classes. Like there's some weird glide fitness class he's having.
Slide and glide.
What
I
is
remember
that?
You've never seen that?
No, I
you
had
put
never
the thing
seen
on your
that.
shoes and you slide back, forth. Slide, glide.
I've done this thing like with your hands where you have like little circles on your hands, and like you have them on your feet too, where you're like on all fours and you're like choo, 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 choo.
Yeah,
I've done that.
This is like
but
the precursor to that from the 90s, where you're sliding back and forth. It's like almost like deep roller skating, but without skates. Like you're just in one place.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm feeling skinny, Tony.
Because I was like, what the hell is this? But they're all like sliding all over the place and
all
falling.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of these kids are coordinated, that's the thing to me that I'm like a little weirded out. Like, I was fat, but I was coordinated and I could have totally done that. I just would have been pissed.
Yeah. Well, and then a lot of these kids, though, were like skinny kids who were just like really overweight.
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference between being like a skinny kid who's overweight or being like just a big kid.
Yeah, that's
and like
fair.
you were a big kid. I was
Yeah.
a big kid.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like there's a difference.
Yeah, if anybody didn't know, listen to this. We're both big.
but and people roll their eyes and like, oh, it's just an excuse that fat people say. But no. There's a big difference between being like let's look at like.
Oh yeah, I would have choke slammed any of these kids
Like,
at that time.
Okay, so the chick who, the chick in Game of Thrones who plays Brienne.
Oh, she's big.
She's a big.
And if she gained like 30 pounds, she'd be considered fat, but she'd be big fat, which would be different.
But then there's like Melissa McCarthy. She's just fat.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's the difference. Is
Yeah.
like.
Or who's that Australian girl that's in all those funny movies that everybody loves?
Oh, Rebel Wilson?
Yeah, same goes.
Yeah, and like, there's a difference.
Yeah, they're not big, they're just fat.
There is a difference.
Yeah, there's a huge difference.
Here comes the hate shame. Don't shame fat people.
Oh, I don't even care. You can all,
Yeah, because we're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even whatever I am or am not, I don't care what you have to say about that. Sorry.
But after the slide and glide, what happens after that?
We get the public weigh-in.
Oh, that's right. They're like evaluating each boy, and they're like, the Lars guy is like, Jerry Gardner, you're 141 pounds. Your goal is 17 pounds. Which is like, how long does camp last usually?
I don't know, because I don't think camp is really a West Coast thing. I feel like camp is a super New York East Coast thing.
I think that's true. I did go to camp in the summer.
I would have killed to go to
But
camp.
it wasn't like a traditional camp. It was like I went to like a basketball camp for like a week, and that was it. It wasn't like a full summer camp.
I got sent to my grandparents' house with my cousins and had to sleep on the couch in the desert.
Yeah,
It was awful.
The only camps I ever went to were like, oh, here's a week. Like, it wasn't like a full summer thing, and they didn't have all these activities. It was like usually a camp that was focused on something.
Was there dudes on the other side of the lake?
No, of course
yeah,
not.
Exactly.
No. The basketball camp that I went to, it was like a Christian basketball camp, but it was like an intermingled camp.
Well, Christian is just the best way to get it in, but
but no, it was like an intermingled camp.
Remember a week or two ago, I was watching a randomized episode of Who's the Boss.
Right.
And what was it about? camp and how those two met up in the middle of the night.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, it's just so East Coast.
Yeah,
The
no,
whole
I think
camp
that's
thing.
true. I think that is true. It's probably more East Coast. But, I think camp's probably a good thing for kids.
I would have loved it.
I don't know if they still do camp. I don't know if that's still a thing.
I don't think literally this year, but yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. But yeah, they weigh each one and tell them how much weight they have to lose. And my point with that was camp is let's say 2 months. They're like, your goal is 17 pounds. Like for a kid, that's a lot of weight to lose in 2 months.
To be honest though, totally doable as a kid.
Well, sure. But
Like that, I went through swings like that. Like
Just
through the
seems like a
wrestling
lot.
year, I would lose that much weight from November practices to February finals.
yeah. And then after that, there's the camp across the lake that's like the super athletic fit boys camp MVP. And they arranged to have them play like a baseball game with them, and it's just really embarrassing because they all suck, obviously.
Yeah, they're all awful. They can't throw, they can't hit. Which still is what bumps me. Just like, I'm like, really?
Well, and they're really bad. Like they're hitting themselves with the bat.
Yeah.
They're like,
And that's where I this movie is kind of weird for me because I can't identify with that. Like I really can't.
That's fair. And it's supposed to be way over the top.
I might have been the fat kid in the MVP camp.
Yeah. Well, there was later,
a couple of them.
There was a couple of them, yeah, who were a little bigger, but then there's a whole sequence where Ben Stiller's character Tony goes into their cabin and is hunting down all of their hidden sweets,
all their contraband. Yeah, he's knocking on the thing, looking for the hollow bedpost.
Yeah, and he's interrogating Jerry, and he's like, oh, blah 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 blah. You wouldn't want your parents to find out. And then the Josh kid steps up and he's like, oh, I'll tell you where it is. It's
tell you who it was.
Who it was. It was Seymour Butts. He's like, who's Seymour Butts? So it's just one of those funny.
Nobody's seen
things.
more butts than you, Uncle Tony. And then he got disappeared.
Yeah, he's
Josh disappears.
completely disappears.
And the whole rumor mill takes over about, all this happened to Josh. Oh, he woke up on the streets of New York all alone. Oh, somebody killed him. Oh, somebody this, that, and that. Which was a funny little aside, tiny scene of this movie was that whole rumor mill.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, you had to sleep on a park bench with a homeless man with no pants. I don't know, it's just what I heard. And that's how kids are, they're they just say the most ridiculous shit and they have no idea what anything is. But essentially, at this point, Tony starts just destroying everything. He takes away the go-karts, they destroy the blob.
Yeah, everything good about the camp is taken away, and the kids are kind of hopeless. And then they end up at this dance with a bunch of regular, I guess we'll just call them regular chicks, or are they MVP chicks?
Well, they're supposed to be cute chicks. They're supposed to be hot chicks.
It's the hot chick camp. Who knows?
But they're across the way, and so it's a dance, and the chicks are all oh, screw this, these fat kids, whatever.
Yeah, which, if anybody knows anything about anything, girls don't care about the same thing guys do.
And, I was just about to say that, because when I was a young lass, I don't ever remember being oh, that boy is ugly because he's fat. I don't ever remember thinking that.
Yeah.
That was not a thing.
It was never a worry. If you had a little bit of game, you were fine.
Yeah, it was not a thing. At least for me and my friends. I don't know.
Well, for me, I can tell, I'm just it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
That's where some of these movies like this, I can't identify because I'm that wasn't a problem. I don't know what to say.
But so the nurse is totally trying to hit on Pat. She's like, "Oh, do you want to dance?" And he's like, "No."
I sprained my ankle because he's just a wuss, which is fine.
Yeah, and so then the other counselor, Tim, who's the one who used to be fat apparently, and now he's not, but he's still cool.
And that guy is Paul Feig, who is Judd Apatow's right-hand man.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because he looked familiar. I feel like I've seen him before.
But most of the time he's behind the scenes directing a lot of these
Gotcha.
cool movies that everybody likes. He's good.
He just decides, because nobody's dancing and the girls are over it and the boys are too scared, so he just like goes out there and starts going crazy.
He directed Bridesmaids.
Oh, did
That's
he?
like his biggest thing.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
he's cool, because I love that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That movie
Like,
is amazing.
And he's known for dressing like super well. Like, that guy's cool as hell.
Okay.
I'll just throw that in there.
Gotcha. But he like goes out there and just starts like busting a move in the most ridiculous way. And then Pat goes out there, and then the lady counselor goes out there, and then some of the boys go out there.
Jerry goes out, and they just kind of all flow
and then
out.
the girls go out there like, well, it's just dancing, like, and then they start dancing with all the dudes, and then everyone's having a good time, and then all of a sudden Tony comes in. He's like, nope, it's over.
Nope.
Put the fruit trays away. The insects will be out soon.
And as all the girls are filing out, like the fattest kid and the hottest young chick.
Well,
start
she's supposed to be
making
the
out.
hottest because she's like blonde or whatever.
The hottest one is supposed to be the one Jerry was dancing with, the big tall. But really, that other girl was the hottest one, and he starts making out with her, which was awesome.
Yeah, no, that part was really. I'm pretty sure I laughed out loud at that part.
I think we both did.
Yeah, that part was really funny. But then it's like after the dance, Pat is like outside by the go-karts and he's all sad or something.
And so is Jerry, because Jerry wanted some speed.
Oh no, Jerry's out there, I think.
Well, both Pat and Jerry clearly are out there.
Right. But
And Jerry's all sad because he wants to go fast and fly. And
yeah, he's like, oh, I was really looking forward to riding the go-karts. I've never done it before. And I was hoping to do it, and because I'm fat and I can't go fast.
yeah. So Pat pushes him around the track in the go-kart.
Yeah.
Julie sees this.
And she's like, oh.
which is just like the most false thing I've ever seen.
And they like flash back to her like twice to watching him with this like happy look on her face. I'm like, why do you care?
And girls, like, they don't care about that kind of thing.
Well,
at all.
Okay, no. It's just no. Okay. So then if you see a dude like doing something cute with a kid, yeah, it's fucking cute. And you're like, oh, because you think about like babies. Like that's see, no. I disagree, and I'm a chick.
Maybe that's fair. Maybe I may not know. Yeah.
That's why like dudes think, oh, I'm gonna take my baby to the park and pick up some chicks.
Ugh.
No, really, like
That's terrifying.
That's a thing.
Well, at least now I got something going in my favor.
Your baby that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But basically, so yeah, they're just they're pushing around, having a good time, and then Josh like comes back in the middle of the night, and he's like pretending to be all messed up.
Yeah, he got beaten or...
Which it went on just long enough where I was like, oh, did he get f***ed up?
It's a really good scene, and that kid does a great job. That's the thing. This kid, every scene he's in, he takes. Like, him and Keenan are the best people in this movie.
Yeah. No.
Besides Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's crazy like that.
Yeah. Basically, he said, oh, yeah, my dad's a lawyer, and they wouldn't give him a refund, so they had to take me back, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's why he comes back.
Yeah, he got sued into getting back in. So then the next scene is the boys breaking into Perkis's little bungalow.
Yeah, because he has, I'm sure it's like the owner's cabin or whatever, but it's like a full cabin. And so because he's going for a jog in the most ridiculous way.
Come on, you devil log.
Yeah. It's like CrossFit before CrossFit.
I mean, really it is, because when he's running down the trail, because they keep cutting back to the boys doing stuff in the cabin, and then he's running on the trail, he like picks up a log, and he's like, ah!
He's like dead. He's like military pressing it, like, stupid log, bruh.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're in there and they're like looking for the candy, which I'm like, he wouldn't still have the candy. Like that was
I thought maybe he would. I thought that maybe he was keeping
like
it
secretly eating it because he
like
used to be
kid.
because he used to be fat.
Yeah.
But no, they find all the letters they've been writing that he's been keeping.
Yeah, they've been keeping the letters home.
So they find that, and they have to escape because he comes back, which is like the shortest run ever.
Right, but they are almost given away by the British kid's fart, which he
Oh,
ends
right.
up smelling, which is hilarious.
Yeah, because he's like stuck in there, and then Jerry has to go get him, and he has to like lift him up, and he farts, and he's like, "Really?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Keep
do it."
going.
But they all get out safely, and then they are in the woods or something, and they find another fat kid who has a burger.
Well, they're going back to wherever, and they hear a wrapper crinkle in the
that's right.
toilets.
Yeah, that's right.
The kid is in the toilet eating a burger.
Oh, I forgot he was in the toilet. That's like extra gross.
Yeah, he's on the pot eating a burger. So I guess there's a nighttime underground fast food, junk food railroad.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's totally unexplained, but it is really funny. So they're all getting food now.
Including Pat, the counselor.
Yeah, including Pat. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like fast food and like just different kinds.
Pat looked like he had a bunch of chips.
No, it was like a folded over like a bag of fast
was it?
food.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
So I
fair.
thought it was chips at first too, and then I looked closer. It was like taco something. Like it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So then they have another public weigh-in. All the kids are fatter. And
like,
Tony starts losing it.
Yeah, he's like freaking out, and meanwhile he's filming this whole time because he's like trying to sell his infomercial down the road, and so he's like,
The Adam Sandler guy is filming.
yeah, he's like, tomorrow we're gonna go on a 20-mile hike. Anyone who hasn't met their goal, and so Pat tries to step in and whoa, like that's not safe. Because it's really not. Like, if you're, like, that fat...
If you're out of shape, yeah, I mean, it's no good.
Like, yeah, you're going to break your ankle, you're going to sprain your
You're
knee...
just going to kill your feet. Yeah,
something.
It's no good.
Tony freaks out on him. He's like, oh, the fat guy is going to tell me what's healthy, and blah, 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 and then...
And then Jerry kind of comes up with the kids like, oh, we're going to go this guy up, right? And it's like, whoa, this
And then
kid's
Pat's
really
like,
Long Island.
maybe we'll have a different idea.
Yeah.
He's like, you just go on the hike, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, but Jerry was ready to shank him.
Which, I mean, they don't get that far away from it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's still like, whoa, buddy, whoa, Mr. New York, calm down.
Because this happens when Pat and Jerry are having like this bonding moment. And Pat basically is like, because when Jerry, what's his face, Tony was like making fun of him, it kind of sent him back. I don't want to be the fat guy. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't like, this isn't cool. So then he's like, we're gonna take over or whatever. And so they go on the hike, and
It's just comically stupid how bad the fat kids are.
yeah,
at
and
it.
this is where, because when they're done, they're at the top of the, well, yeah, because they like roll down the hill, they do all this stuff. The
Yeah.
one kid's like, I can't make it.
And they finally get somewhere where Ben Stiller, Perkis, whatever you're gonna call him, is doing yoga.
And this is where I was like, whoa, he's in real good shape.
Yeah, he loves his cut body. But if you see a lot of these movies with Ben Stiller in them, he does these kind of scenes with his shirt off, where he's trying to show off his body.
I think it's because he's kind of a short guy.
No, he's super short.
Yeah, so like he feels
he's got short guy
but
problems.
even I was impressed. I was like, man, you're like, because it wasn't like he was just like fit. He had like muscular
he's cut.
arms.
Yeah, no. Yeah, he's a cut guy. Yeah.
And
But he's like 5'2". I mean,
which is just like an ultimate like, oh, that's bad. But basically, he's like doing yoga, and then they trick him into somehow getting down with a blindfold
about you can't do a sit up with when you can't hear or can't see.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, well, there's a lot of misconceptions about abs.
Yeah,
And-
so Josh almost cracks him.
Yeah, and so then he freaks out and chasing him down the hill, which I'm like, he would have caught you in like 2 seconds. Most likely.
I don't know. Fat dudes downhill are pretty hard to stop.
I mean, there is that. And then Tony falls in that hole.
Well, yeah, they made a little booby trap for him, and they catch him.
That was already there. Because when they're going up the hill on the hike, he's like,
Oh, they
look.
see it.
Yeah, they see it, and they're like,
but they
look.
covered up and made it for him. They did it on purpose.
Oh, they did do that on
Yeah, because there
purpose?
was a pallet over the hole, and
Oh.
they put leaves over. They did the whole, like they knew where to run.
Oh, okay.
It was done on purpose. That's why they were all pretending like they were arguing. Like they came up with a plan.
Gotcha. I see. So they kidnap him and they like lock him up in this bunker situation that like make the fence like electric.
It almost looks like a barn with an electric fence.
It does look like a barn. And they like also kidnap all of the other like
Trainer counselors.
Lars and stuff, and they tie him to a tree and they put honey on his body because they're like, a bear is gonna come get you, but they're like, oh, there's no bears, but he's freaking out over like a deer or something.
And he tries to lure the kid back in, saying, "Oh, I have candy," and the kid punches him in the balls, which is hilarious.
And this part is probably it might be my favorite scene. I'm not 100% sure yet. We'll get to that, but like,
yeah.
So they have essentially like a bonanza bacchanalian of like food, and like they're just taking over, and
there's fireworks and food,
and they're like,
it's just an animalistic fat guy celebration.
Well, and my favorite, and it was all like in slow motion, and they were playing like classical music, and like the one kid is drink the juice out of maraschino cherries, which is just sugar water.
Oh, it's delicious.
And like my favorite part was the counselor who used to be fat is like spraying himself with like chocolate, and he's like, rah! And, like, the whole scene was just really funny.
His whole part in that is so funny.
The part was really funny. And they're essentially going ape because they've been like denied all this stuff all summer so far.
Yeah, like a whole bunch of them are painting themselves with marshmallow cream and
yeah, they're going
chocolate.
insane.
Yeah, they're going nuts.
And
they're
like,
having a good time.
Pat is hanging out with the nurse chick, and he's, ooh, look at all that food, I better get down there. And she's like, no, stay with me.
Yeah, she's like, no, get it in.
And he's, oh, all right. Like,
yeah.
So he just stays there. And then the next day, it's daylight, and of course, it's just carnage everywhere, and they're all like, ugh, and they're farting, and like all this other stuff. And Pat comes and wakes them up, and he's, hey,
maybe we should have some self-control. Since I didn't eat last night, I feel good today. I got laid last night. I'm feeling great. You guys need to have some self-control and lose some weight.
Yeah, and
so now all the kids want to lose some weight. They lose enough weight to be exactly the same size they were before their parents sent them there.
Yeah, and they're like learning about food. And,
oh, sure, but that doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, but they're like trying to go about like if there was a fat camp, what it should be, you know, learning that stuff. And meanwhile, they're still keeping Tony hostage, and they're like bringing him food, and he's still locked up this whole time. Like, he must smell real bad.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He's in a barn, you know. I mean, he can do whatever.
But then, what is it after that?
The parents all show up.
Oh, that's right. It's Parents' Day.
They're like, the kids have lost no weight. They're like, whatever. And then they slip in the video of how horrible Tony is.
And meanwhile, the British kid is watching him. And at first I was like, well, what about his parents? I'm like, oh, wait, they probably can't come because they're in England.
That's the whole reason they had him.
Yeah, so he's watching him, and then Tony tricks him with like taking a piece of foil from the food and turning it into Hershey's Kiss.
After shorting out the electric fence.
Right. And so he like gets him and gets out. And it kind of makes you feel like this is going to be the end of the movie a little bit, because...
I mean, it kind of is.
Well, yeah, because Tony's like the villain, and like he's essentially insane. All the parents realize he's insane. They see the video, and he comes in, he gets knocked out by Jerry's dad.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Well, yeah, and then he gets taken away.
Yeah, Tony's dad shows up, which is also Ben Stiller, playing the same awesome character that he played in the Ben Stiller show. The old guy, dad guy.
Yeah, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, he is incredible as that smooth talking, rich, like, guy.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm going to have to close the camp.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, don't do it. He's like, well, I need an adult in charge, insurance reasons. Like, he could really care less about anything that happens here.
Right, which rings true to me.
And then Pat's like, well, I've been here for 18 years, so he makes Pat be in charge. Yeah. He's like, 18 years? What have you been doing with your life?
Yeah, which is really true. Well, okay. It would make sense if the guy was like a school teacher where he could devote his summers to that, or...
That's true.
Like a crab fisherman, but really, what are you doing with your life if you're doing that in the summer for 18 years?
Yeah. And so then they get things back on track, and they're doing stuff, and they're trying to lose weight, and
it's time for the Apache relay.
Right, which I guess they had been kind of hinting at throughout the entire movie.
They totally had.
But it just like, I don't know, that part was, to me, was, oh, okay, so now there's another end of the movie. Like, it just felt a little double-endish. Yeah, and like, I didn't really care that much.
So see, this I think is one of the Disney things, is that the Judd Apatow movie would not have had this. It would have ended there with kids being back. Disney needed the sports ending.
then and that makes sense. But then basically, it's like a relay race and like a quiz situation. Like they have to answer
intelligence,
and they have to do like shaving a balloon. And the one kid, all of the MVP kids can't do it apparently.
but the kid who's already shaving, the Josh kid,
He like does it perfectly
with a straight razor, not even with a regular razor back then.
Yeah,
He does it with a straight razor, which kind of rings true to me, but that's fine.
yeah, and essentially like they're really behind. Because they have, like, the worst kid start out this relay race doing the sack race thing, and he keeps falling, and it's, like, literally the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of stupid.
But
then the fat kids catch up in the Hall of Intelligence, which I'm like, shouldn't that happen some years? Like, they shouldn't have lost 33 years in a row, because sometimes they would have the smarter person.
You would think so.
Especially because the next thing is a go-kart race, which a fat kid is at a disadvantage at a go-kart race.
Okay, so that was the biggest, ultimately that's the biggest problem I have with this movie, just because on a workout and we had to go karting and like, I work with a bunch of tiny midgets and like...
The midgets are faster.
If you have less weight, you're gonna go faster. And so the kid he's racing against is like a thin, athletic kid. Like he would have smoked this kid. Like there would have been no contest.
They're like, oh, throw your weight into the corners. Nah.
That's not how that works.
Yeah. So not. Oh, but we souped up this go-kart. Well,
still,
that might help. But it was a little ludicrous, especially because he wins the go-kart race, making them win the Apache relay by jumping over the other go-kart because he hit some turbo lever.
Well, it was like a fan on the back. It was like, brrr, and then he like went over a jump, and like I'm like, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, but typical Disney. I mean, and that makes Jerry our hero, even though he's kind of just one of the other dudes in the story.
Well, and then the best. It's like the end, and they're one, and then they're like, Pat's like freaking out. There's something about like, you're crazy. He's like, you bet I'm crazy. Crazy about my gal.
Crazy about my gal. Like,
and she,
what?
Like, she's not your gal.
But maybe she is, because maybe that's one of the cutout scenes is when he didn't go out and pig out. They like crazy.
Well, I don't think they would have that in a Disney movie.
That's the whole difference between the Judd Apatow and the Disney movie version. I think that's what happened. It's implied that that's what happened.
Yeah.
But they don't be like, oh, yeah, he got it in that night. That's why he gave the inspirational speech. That's why he was turned around.
Yeah.
They don't... It's generally implied, but it's a Disney movie. They don't really give you anything.
Here's my thing. Why is there never any movies where there's, like, a sort of, like, not super good-looking chick and like a quote hot dude? Like that never happens.
I think it happens too often in real life for anybody to care.
But it doesn't.
No, yeah, it really does.
I mean, I guess, but I don't know. Like that,
it's too real for anybody to be like, oh, okay, whatever. Because you see plenty of hot dudes. It kind of doesn't matter.
And that's the end of the movie. That's it.
They shake sodas all over each other, and that's it.
Yeah, that's the end. Oh my goodness. Yeah. This movie had a lot happening, actually, talking through it.
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
So, well, what was your favorite part, though?
The fat party. Of course it's the fat party. You were alluding to it earlier where you were like, oh, this is maybe my favorite scene. I mean, really, there's too many favorite scenes. There's a lot of really good scenes in here. The dance is really good.
Yeah.
The capture of Tony is really good. The part where Tony comes in is really good.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of great scenes, but the fat party, that is the best scene in this movie.
I wrote the slow motion food bonanza. Yeah, because I do like that one quite a bit. And then a close second, I think, would be when Jerry first gets to the camp and meets all the other kids, and they're like showing where they hid all the food. I really like
nice
that part.
That's fair.
Or I like the dance part a lot too, but it's got to be the slow motion food party. That part is so funny.
I mean, the kid making out with that chick at the dance is incredible. I mean, that almost makes it the best scene, but not quite.
Yeah. No, that it did have a lot of good scenes, and like, yeah, anything with Tony was good too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Ben Stiller is a killer, and everything he does in this is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, there was like notable songs for sure. I mean, they had
that "Closer to Free" song, which was in, like I said, the Party of Five soundtrack, and "Milk Money," which I think is why I recognize it so much, because I watched that movie like crazy.
Is that the one where they like get all the money to hire the prostitute?
Yeah.
But what are they hiring her for?
I don't exactly remember.
Oh, don't they just want to see her tits or something?
Yeah, I was obsessed with that movie.
Isn't that what it is? And isn't like Melanie Griffith or something?
Oh yeah.
Is she considered hot?
Oh yeah.
Is she? Okay, I wasn't sure, but
especially then, especially in 1994. Yeah. Oh God, I was obsessed with that movie for that reason.
That's what it was. But then they got involved in like some like bad stuff or something.
So
right?
yeah, I don't remember totally.
Yeah.
But.
And then it had like that "You Sexy Thing" song that's like in every single fucking movie.
Yeah.
And the "I Want Candy" song when they were doing the fast food exchange thing.
Yep. All songs that have been in a ton of other movies.
Yeah,
and stuff. You know, the cinematography actually kind of not that great.
It's definitely very low budget.
Yeah, they did not give these guys a lot of money to do this movie.
No. Not at all. I mean, it almost feels like a made-for-TV movie, but not that bad.
But at this time, Apatow and Stiller, all they had was that one show. They didn't have the reputation to get the money to do this movie like they would have wanted to do.
Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, it was just very 90s.
Yeah, it was really 90s.
Like, very, very 90s. And I mean, yeah, the main character, we kind of talked about it earlier. Like, is it Jerry? Is it Pat? Is it just the kids?
To me, it feels like Jerry, Keenan, and Josh are the main character.
Yeah, and I mean, technically, as far as screen time goes, it's Jerry because it starts out with him. So
and it's his story. But that kid,
Yeah, no, it's just it's a very ensemble-driven thing. And then as far as villains, I mean, you have...
It's Ben Stiller.
Well, yeah, you have Tony Perkins, but you also have the camp MVP people, because that's like they have to overcome two situations.
They're not really that much of villains. They're just kind of there.
Yeah.
That's why that second ending is kind of, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, you're not invested in that storyline at all. You're just kind of like, all right, whatever. It's a different way to end this movie. I mean, because those kids, you don't see that kid winning and be like, oh, I hate that kid. No, you're just kind of like, all right, so what?
Yeah, and like that was, I think, the biggest.
And as a matter of fact, they could have lost, and I would have liked this movie just as much.
Yeah, and like that was the thing is like I almost wish that whole part wasn't in the movie, and they would have had more antics with like Ben Stiller's character.
Agreed.
And like more like of him being crazy, like making them do like weight loss stuff. Like that would have been better, and like that was really drugged down the score on this movie for me quite a bit. Like, well, I had a lot of problems with that.
Which is fair. I disagree, but it's fair. You're being fair.
And like sidekicks, I mean,
you got Julie, Tim, maybe Pat. Pat may or may not be a main character. It's kind of in between. You've got Lars on the evil side, who was super good as his role.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good.
Really good as Andy Warhol at the end of the movie in the Intelligence Hall.
Oh, is that who he was?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
He was.
I didn't know who that was.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah,
he was funny as that, I thought.
And the story, yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. Like,
funny.
No, it was funny. Like, it was funny, but so it would have been better if they had cut out the whole thing with like Camp MVP. If they had just taken that whole part out and they had made it like the girls' camp, and the girls' camp was also a fat camp.
Yeah, all right. That's a more modern approach.
No, I know.
It wouldn't have worked in '95 because fat girls were basically untouchables in '95.
I guess, but it would have been a more effective thing.
I agree. If that would have happened, I would have given it 100%.
Well, right, and that's what I'm saying is like that would have been better. I guess it would have been a more effective, real.
But it wasn't a sellable movie in that time if it was like that.
No, I agree.
I agree because to me, That's the only thing missing from this film is that there wasn't a girls' fat camp to go with it. Like, that's all I wanted.
And they could have had, like, elements of, like, there could have been, like, a mean lady fat camp counselor, and there could have been interactions with, like, her character and Ben Stiller's character.
Right. He definitely could have had a female counterpart.
And, like, they could have, like, had both the camps, like, take down the people together, and, like, it would have just been, I think, a little better.
It would have been better, but honestly, back then...
No, I get it for back then.
Nobody would have cared about that.
I get it. No, I totally get it.
But, I mean, really, if you think about it, was there a part of this movie that was boring?
No, there definitely wasn't a part. And,
No.
like, that's why, like, when we get to the ratings, I don't want it to think like I thought this was a bad movie. I just... it was just middle of the road for me.
So what do you find the message of this film to be?
I mean, really, I guess just almost like the whole speech, whatever, that What's-His-Face gave to them after the fat party.
Do better on your own terms.
Yeah, like, find your own way, like...
Yeah, but be better.
Be better for yourself, not for anybody else type of thing.
That was exactly what I thought. So, my final thought, and I'm a little biased because had I seen this movie when it came out, I would have been absolutely in love. And probably would not ever stop talking about this movie. I can't even imagine me seeing this when I was 15.
Yeah.
I would have lost my...
Yeah.
This is a great 90s fat people movie. I love it.
Well, it's just a great 90s kids movie, like 90s anybody movie.
Nah, but for the fatties out here, for all of us, this is incredible. Because at the same time, there was that stupid movie Angus with the fat kid.
I don't know what that is.
And that was much more, I guess, popular because I'd heard of it at the time and I'd seen it. But this movie's 100,000 times better than that movie.
I just remember. Do you remember the part when they're doing the weigh-in and like the first weigh-in and they have the kid who doesn't really talk, but he's like the biggest kid, like
and
super
everybody
tall.
congratulates him.
Yeah, but so here's the thing: he wasn't like as fat as some of them. He was a big kid because he was tall, and he's like, "Oh, congratulations, you're the fattest kid in this camp." And they're all like, "Oh, right." Yeah.
So like, I weighed a little bit more than that kid when I was that same age, and I could have been that kid in that movie.
Oh, are you sad now?
Yeah,
Do you feel like you missed your
That's
opportunity?
what I'm saying. Like, I could have been in this movie easily.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, no, that part was really funny. But yeah, and my final thoughts, I guess I would say, like, it's fun, it's light, it's a good movie. It's definitely got that 90s kids movie, like 90s feel that you don't really get from movies anymore. So yeah.
The real feel?
Yeah, and just the kind of like...
Not even a reality, but just like real life.
Yeah, like very like a lot of movies nowadays are very like highly produced and they're like over like to where it doesn't feel like you can't really like...
It doesn't feel real.
It doesn't feel real.
like anything. This feels real.
And this just feels like happy, I guess.
Even though it's ridiculous at the end, it still has that real feeling that you would expect.
I'm crazy about my gal. Oh.
So, what's your rating?
I keep going back and forth between two scores, like, because I
can tell that you're struggling a little bit.
I am struggling, and you know what? I'm gonna go with my original score, and it's gonna seem a little low.
It's fine.
But it's not that I didn't like the movie. I did like it. I think it's a good movie. I'm giving it a 59%.
Oh, man, that is awful.
No, see,
that seems terrible.
No. It's middle of the road.
That seems low for middle of the road.
No. Anything that's between like 55 and 75 for me is middle of the road. That's average. That's like my average ranking. And I had a really big problem with some of the story elements in it. And like that's a really big deal for me. Like I didn't like the ending at all.
Well, the ending was stupid, but to me that feels just like a Disney ending.
I don't know. To me, it just felt kind of like, okay. And like, there was a lot of missed opportunities in this movie, I guess.
To me, the real ending was the ending, and then there was the Disney ending.
Yeah.
I gave this movie 87%. This movie's fucking incredible. I have no apologies for that.
No, that's fine.
I really like it. It's great.
No, it is a good movie.
So, what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes critic score of
the critic score is probably like 25.
It's 29%.
Oof.
Which makes no
No,
sense to me.
that doesn't make any sense.
These people are out of their goddamn mind. The people gave it 77%.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
What is wrong with the critics that they would give this such a bad score? This movie is really funny.
No, so I was fluctuating between 59 was my initial this is the score I give it, and then as we were talking, I was like maybe it's more like a 68, and so that was kind of the range I was working in.
But you were never going below 50.
No, I was never going below 59.
And definitely not to 29.
No, definitely not.
And maybe that's why I never heard of this, is because the critics just buried this movie back in the day.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know that it came out.
No, I mean, I thought this was a really fun movie. It was a good movie, but I had big problems with some of the story elements and the ending.
Which is fine. Like I said, I don't begrudge you for your lower rating, just like you don't begrudge me for my higher rating.
Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely a lot of fun, and I'm interested to see what our next movie is. I kind of almost want it to be like an old one, because those are so kind of fun because they're so crazy. But then I'm like, I want like an animated one. Like, I don't know what I want.
Well, what you're going to get is number 173.
Okay, that's a pretty old one. I'm guessing the 70s or 80s. Wait, what's the number?
Oh, no, it's in the 90s.
Oh, jeez. What is it?
173.
173.
What do you think it is?
I don't know.
Take a guess.
In the 90s?
Mm-hmm.
Aladdin.
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh my god, freak out. Ooh, okay, so this is, wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
So this is my jam.
Well, I know for a fact that at least one song in this movie I think is one of the best songs in a Disney movie of all time.
Oh my god.
But so we'll
I'm
go
gonna
from
freak
there.
out.
I know I've seen it. I can't really, I basically know how the story goes.
This is one of the greatest movies ever made.
But I've
in my
definitely
opinion.
seen it.
So this is the only Disney movie to ever be nominated for Best Picture. Before they had an
Really?
okay, and that's, you already know this is a good movie, so it's not going to ruin it
Oh,
for you.
yeah.
So that before they didn't used to have an animated category.
Right.
This is the only Disney movie. I'm pretty sure the only one. At least it's the first one that was nominated for Best Picture, and it lost to Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, that sounds about right with 1991. Yeah.
So you already know, I watched this movie a lot.
I've only seen it a few times. I know it's good. I know it has good music.
It has amazing music, and the animation is amazing.
Much of the rest.
But I haven't. But see, here's the thing: I watched it a lot as a kid, but I haven't watched it probably since. I probably watched it as a young adult, probably early 20s.
I'm pretty sure I haven't seen this since at the latest 1993.
Yeah, I had Beauty and the Beast. I had so they used to have these books where they would have little buttons on the side where they'd make a noise.
Mm-hmm.
I had that. I had a cassette tape. I had we had the VHS. We had.
You were all in.
I was all about it. In high school we did Beauty and the Beast musical.
Fair enough.
I was a townsperson. I was a salt and pepper shaker. Yeah, so this is going to be fun. I'm really excited to watch it.
All right. Well, that's great because I think we both are. But in the meantime, you can catch us on social media. Just look up At the Disney Movies with the Hearts, or just At the Disney Movies on your favorite platform. You'll find us somewhere.
Yeah, and please leave us a review. Thank you for those that have given us the 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts. That really helps.
Yeah,
grow the show.
Subscribe to our podcast. We really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let your peeps know about us and leave us a comment. We'll respond, and
yeah,
we really appreciate it.
We like doing this. We think it's fun, and we're going to keep doing it one way or the other.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though, I'm David.
I'm Kelly.
And this is At the Disney Movies with the Hearts.
Bye! And really?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Great.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
I'm sure that it is. It's from lasagna.
Okay, so